Messiah, Jesus, knew he was approaching the end of his life in this narrative. He had only 3 years to teach his disciples the lessons that should have taken a lot longer to learn. There was a lot of cramming of information into the disciples at this point. This part of John's gospel tells us that Jesus was quite concerned about what his students would do when he left them. Now, Jesus knew the history of a prophet who comes to Jerusalem spreading the word of the Lord. He was going to die there. He knew it. Therefore, he was trying to prepare his disciples, his students, for what was going to happen. Jesus' message of love and peace was needed badly in the world then. And today, the world needs it even more. The thought that the people of the world cannot live in peace and in love is an extremely bad thought. I remember watching Miss America pageants back in the 1960s and 70s. I could be wrong because I was a kid, but I think that just about every contestant said that world peace was the most important thing to them. It is a great message which echoes Jesus. Unfortunately, after 2,000 years, the world peace and love that Jesus of Nazareth tried to establish has not happened. What breaks my heart is when it occurs in the churches of Jesus Christ. Denominational authorities in the United Methodist Church are mistreating churches, leaving over biblical differences, which saddens a 25-year United Methodist pastor. It's not just the sexual orientation issue that is driving the division. There's a lot more going on. When the bishops in my conference announced we don't have to follow the Bible, then the churches are not following Jesus Christ. They're not churches. The bishops of the UMC seem to be more interested in blending to a small fraction of U.S. society than to stand up for the gospel of Christ. Yes, I know someone hearing this or reading this will strongly disagree. It is a debate that should occur and not the antagonism from both sides of the issue. I had heard and read that one bishop at their annual conference meeting told the delegates from the disassociating churches to leave. After they did, the bishop held a prayer of thanksgiving that they left. What kind of peace and love is this? Let me tell you, it's not. It is certainly not the peace of God. It's not the love of Jesus. It's not what he was talking about. You know, people may see things differently. And if this was not so, then the Lord would not have given us free will and minds to interpret his word in different manners, in different ways. However, the Lord expects us to be respectful of each other, no matter how far apart people may be in their opinions. For Jesus Christ's love and peace are eternal. It is accepting of everyone and every idea. Let me ask you this. How do you expect to get into heaven if there is even one person you hate now? Let's say for a moment that person dies. Their soul returns to the Lord in heaven. That's wonderful. But what happens when you get to heaven and you run into that person? What are you going to do? Hatred's not allowed in heaven. How will your soul deal with this situation? See, Jesus warned us to have a clean heart. Yes, for those who are thinking it's hard to be at peace and love everyone. I dislike it when people cut lines. How about when you're driving down the interstate and you see a sign that says left lane closed ahead? I move over to the right lane. I crawl with the traffic, only to see cars flying by to get in front of us who are waiting. That's wrong. Sorry if you do it, but it's wrong. I cannot say I hate those people. Today, I excuse their ignorance and their self-centered egos that they think they're more important than me. I must admit that having this attitude took several years for me to finally achieve. I cannot be angry at ignorance because there's so much of it in the world. I will say that I dislike going to events where there are many people because the ignorance of respect is prevalent. I became displeased with it in church, and I retired early. because every church I was assigned to had people that had no clue what Jesus Christ taught about peace and love. I had a 70-year-old woman, church woman, ask me where in the Bible does it say that she cannot hate me. Well, it's in 1 John, by the way, where the hate word is actually used. I asked her, how can she claim to be a follower of Jesus and have hate in her heart? By the way, she hated my messages because they were biblically based. She liked the previous pastor who told disconnected stories, and it made her feel good. Preaching the truth of the Bible is not easy. The word is difficult when it starts getting closer. Jesus called me to learn the original message of the Bible that people in his day believed. What did they believe when they heard him preach? 25 years plus later, I'm doing that. I bring that out in the sermons. And there are always people who love it because they want to learn about the Bible and how to apply it to their lives. There are also people like the 72-year-old who hated the sermons because she didn't like being told she needed to conform to Jesus' method. Jesus sent the Holy Spirit to educate and encourage his disciples. He knew they needed more. So many people at church need to learn what the truth of the gospel is. Let me say it for you. Love God, love neighbor. That's it. You know, like Luke Skywalker said to his father in the Star Wars movies, let go of your hate. I know it's a hard thing to do. I struggle with it every day. I pray to the Lord to allow the Holy Spirit to cleanse me of any hatred and guide me on the path to righteousness. That's the key to Jesus' teaching. He knows I may never completely cleanse my soul of hate. However, he also knows that I'm trying, and I pray for help in that task. Since none of us are perfect, we have to rely on Christ's peace and love through the Holy Spirit to cleanse our souls. When we reach that point of death, may each of us be sanctified with the peace and love of Jesus Christ. Thank you for listening to this message. I hope it touches you in some way, shape, or form. And as always, shalom.